Hello, folkers. I'm Copper Kelly. You're welcome to the Folkin Around podcast, your favorite country music podcast. This week, I present to you an interview that myself and Jodie had with Paul Kelly a few weeks ago. So, without further ado, we'll get to the interview and I'll talk to you after.
On this week's episode, we are joined by the lovely Paul Kelly. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Jodie, thanks a million, Copper. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
joining us. And I know we've attempted this now a few weeks, and we've always been, I think, got our way, not our wires crossed, but we just had other things on, all on of us. So I want to thank you very much, yourself and Copper, for having me on here. And I know you have done quite a few of these podcasts now, and I've been listening to a few to make sure I don't make a mess of this one. So hopefully not.
No pressure then. You know, you've been building it up now for a while. Yeah. Big expectations.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what to expect anyway. Just nice old casual conversation.
That's the way to go.
That's it.
So for anybody listening in on the audio or watching us on our YouTube channel that may not have met you before, Paul, why don't you give a little quick introduction to yourself?
I suppose you know my name, Paul Kelly. I am a country singer at the moment.
We're not related, are we?
Up until COVID popped in. But yeah, I live in Ireland on the border of Donegal and Fermanagh, which is on the border of Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland. So it takes 2.5 miles to the local shop, and I have 4 border crossings to do before I get to the shop, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. You always have to carry 2 currencies in your wallet.
You do, yeah.
And for anybody watching, you always have to have 2 phones, like a north phone and a south phone. So that's the kind of the disadvantages of living on the border. Apart from that, I started in my music career very early on in life. I was starting to go to secondary school. So that'd be like high school for you, Jodie, or whatever. The night before it started, my mum was playing in a 2-piece band, and the fella playing with her broke his leg. So, excuse me, I had to jump in at the last minute and go and fill in with her. I was just turning 12 years of age that time. And so basically, I have been playing music ever since, well, until lockdown. Not now, what I mean ever since, I do mean ever since, because I've never spent any period that I wasn't in a band of some sort. I stayed with my mother probably 5 or 6 years. And then I joined a 5-piece kind of country rock band. We specialise in weddings mostly. And I went from there then to a 3-piece wedding band. And I was there for another few years. And we done a lot of work in the wedding industry, you know. And then next to it, a friend of mine, Andy Cox, who myself and himself would co-write a lot of the songs. He stopped me in the street one day. We live in a small village called Pettigo. I don't know if I said that or not. I think I did. But so we started to work on the song, and I said it's a song called "So in Love." I don't even know if you've ever heard it, Jodie or not, or Copper.
Yeah.
So in Love. So he says, and there was another friend as well, Colin McGanders. So the 3 of us put this song together. I went to Jonathan Owens and recorded the song, and it done a fair bit of business for us, and then this is great. So we launched a band the following year.
Yeah.
That was in October 2013. And basically been in the band scene then, and the country scene sort of since. Things changed a wee bit then. There was a lot of, there's a lot of like country bands in Ireland doing exactly the same thing, like country jives, country quick steps, country talk. So myself and Andy says to me, I have a song about farming, and I says, right. He says, so we've done a lot of work on that song. It's called On the Market. And that just opened a whole complete new line of work for myself, you know, as in young farmers dances, Marker Firma dances for like, you know, young farmers that go out to the weekend dances. So that opened a lot of doors and got us a lot of work, even in the UK, got us a lot of work in the UK as well. And that led on then to farming, trucking, cars, and anything. We just changed the, you know, we kind of given the market at that time what it wanted. That was about 2007, 16, 17, 18. And at that stage, country was very cool. Still cool, like, but...
Oh, of course it is.
We were just giving it a little twist for putting, like, because I'd done farming all my life and I drove a lorry then for about 3 or 4 years on and off. So I knew exactly what everything to do with farming, and Andy great with lyrics. Now he's a farmer himself. So yeah, started in writing them type of songs, and I say from then on, like I say, we were very busy. Even when lockdown hit, like, I don't know if you've ever heard tell of this farming university in England. It's called Harper Adams. So we were there actually when lockdown happened. And
I actually used to live next to Harper Adams.
Really?
Yeah, until I moved to London about 3 weeks ago, but I lived in Shropshire.
Yeah, isn't that in Newport? Is the town closest to it, isn't it?
Yeah, Newport, Shropshire, yeah.
Yeah. So basically we were there at the gig. We've been doing this gig every year for the last 4 years. It's called, they have a Paddy's Ball over there. So it's for all like kind of the Irish people that attend the college. They have their own wee ball, and then they head home for Paddy's weekend. So it's it always falls on Friday before St. Patrick's Day. So we were there. We had a gig in Manchester Irish Centre on the Saturday night, and we were in Shapwell's Hotel in Cumbria on Sunday. We were meant to be. So we got the gig in Harper Adams was amazing. It's always amazing. Like there's been 3,000 people at it. It's just serious. You get a serious vibe from that gig. And we ended up going to Manchester then. And next thing we were setting up the gear. Next thing, newsflash, Ireland's shutting down. So we played in the Manchester Centre. We only played an hour. Everybody understood. Listen, it'll be all right if you're on your own, lads, but there's 5 other lads with me as well, and I can't be responsible for keeping 5 other lads out of the country when there's a pandemic just about to happen. So
yeah,
they had an hour in Manchester, and we offered the people their money back, and said no, they're all ex-Irish people anyway, and they said no, get home and get safe. So we straight to Holyhead on the boat home. Yeah, basically the rest's history since COVID.
And you've been there ever since.
Kind of, Jodie, basically for musicians and singers, it just, we had a major brick wall, you know?
Yeah. Obviously, if we sort of go back, because obviously we'll talk about what's going on now, but if we just try and get a bit of a history on you, obviously you're kind of a veteran already at kind of the music industry. Were you quite a musical family sort of growing up then? You said your mum did music.
Yeah, my mum, well, myself and her recorded a few songs together, but yeah, like I think when I was 5, Santi brought me a keyboard, maybe 6, and basically since that, like the music came from my mum's side. Like there's no music at all on my dad's side, but my mum's father and uncles would have all played a bit of trad music, you know, traditional music.
Yeah,
probably came from there. Always was a Christmas night party in my granny's house, my granny and granddad's house. That's, you know, there's only one way to learn these things. If you want to learn, you just need to get into the middle of it and just play along. And like I did get guitar lessons, and I did get keyboard lessons or piano lessons for a short while. But I remember well, I'm probably going off the story a bit now, Jodie, but I remember well being at my piano lessons. And once I got the tune in my head, I played it, I played it by ear.
Oh, very good.
Okay.
The man was standing behind me playing the piano, maybe on my 4th or 5th time at the lessons. And he says, "You're playing notes there that's not on that sheet. Why is this?" And he says, "You have this tune in your head and you're not reading the music." I never actually adopted very good to reading the music. So it was like, get the tune in my head and try and play by ear. I'm sure you've heard tell of that. Anybody who plays music by ear. But yeah, it just started that early on. And as I told you the wee story earlier about the first day at high school or secondary school, you know, I was out at a gig that night with my mother the night beforehand, you know, and it would have been pubs and bars around Donegal, Tyrone and Fermanagh, but I probably...
And how were your school friends with that?
They just thought this was great. They thought this was great. And even like when they would have been going to like out to teenage discos, I was away playing at a pub or a bar. And even I remember my dad's night, like my mother, we had a dinner dance booked for that night, but like this dinner dance would have been booked for like a year previous. And I'll never forget, the dinner dance fell on the same night as my Debs. You know, Debs, you're leaving certain,
yeah,
whatever you call it. So that meant all my friends were at the Leaving Cert do, and I was out playing at a dinner dance with my mother. But you know, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, but yeah, that's what I was doing, even all through school. Like, you know, I would have been out on a Sunday night playing, maybe home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. The bus picked us up at 6:30 the next morning, and it was different. I put it that way. You know.
And when you're working on the farm, you're driving your trucks. Did you ever think one day I'll be writing songs about this?
Never ever thought. You know, I always loved songs, but until Andy kind of gave us the nudge that day about, you know, writing the songs, I never thought, you know, you'd be able to do it. Andy Cox, a great fella, he's a friend of mine and a neighbour. He would always put the sort of the story together, you know, and then he'd say, what do we need to add to this? And you know, then just take out words and put in words. And basically, I done all the music for the song. You could sit at the piano. I remember sitting at the piano in the house at night, and you get so into a song. And I remember looking around one morning, and through the front door, you could see the morning, the light was shining through the front door. I'd sat all night at the piano, and you know, when you get that involved in something, you never look at time or nothing. You just get so involved that it was morning, and I'd sat all night at the piano. And I said, "Fuck this! I need to get to bed." You know, it's just someone, like I say, if when you get into it, it's just hard to stop it. You know, it's like maybe a bit like an addiction or something. I don't know. You know,
I'm the same.
And have you found that you've been doing more writing during lockdown now?
Well, to be honest, Jodie, we haven't done a while. We have loads and loads of songs sitting there. Even we'd written a few songs for other artists, and they're all kind of sitting there at the moment. I haven't released a lot of songs now this last while. I released a song last July, probably with a duet coming out now in the next couple of weeks. But I haven't done a lot, to be honest with you. There's a lot of stuff written down that we haven't actually, you know, materialized or finished. You know, that's all coming in the next year now or so. It's just very hard to know what market now we need to target. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because you've never really done the dance scene, have you? Well, I can't see the dances coming back, really.
Well, it's going to be a while, that's for definite. You know, but you know, like the dance, the closest gig to me now would be the Allingham Arms Hotel in Bundoran. I don't know if you've heard tell of it or not.
Yeah,
it's a regular gig every Saturday night, and then bank holiday weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we would always find ourselves doing the Sunday afternoon gig at them events. You know, where families can come and. You know, I have to say, like this nearly 2 million hits on some of my songs, and I would say 3/4 of them hits are all from kids. Like, it's just unbelievable the way the kids have taken to these songs we've done. You know,
yeah. And obviously, COVID stopped everything for you. But what's the plan once you're allowed back out to play? Shall we say?
Well, actually, Jodie, at the end of May now, which is, I'm not sure when, the end of May now is our first gig. It's in the UK in Luton. And the lady that does my booking, she got an email one day about looking to book Paul Kelly for an event in Luton. And I was thinking, you know...
Can I just say, I'm living in Luton now.
Oh, no, you really? Well, we'll be there.
I'm going to be coming to it.
Very good. So this was a farmer. He has, I don't know, here to have limousine animals. They're like a breed of cattle.
I grew up on a farm myself, so I'm well used to it.
Oh, did you? Oh, you'll know all about them. So proper. But
it's not the car now. No, it's...
So that's where we're heading. That's our first gig back now in the end of May. We're heading there to do that. Really looking forward to that. As I say, we've done a few... driving shows with the band and all, and outside gigs. Very, very hard to get an atmosphere at the outside gigs because, you know, you're on a stage where you'd be used to people around the front of the stage and all, and these gigs then with people sitting in cars, and the only interaction really they can have is flash their lights or blow the horn or something like that, you know. So can't wait to get back then. We're back in the UK in June. We have 3 or 4 gigs, or we have 3 weekends in the UK again in June. 2 of them's in Shropshire as well. Don't know where the other one is at the moment, but so I think it's getting slowly back now. What it's going to be like for normal inside gigs, as I say, 2 of them gigs in June will be truck shows. You know, they're all outside gigs, so I can't see a lot happening in the line of inside gigs. Definitely not this year, anyway. You know, which is sad, really. You know.
Definitely. I mean, it's just stopped the whole world, hasn't it? And definitely music's took the biggest hit, I would say.
Yeah, I have two small cafes as well, one in Pettigo and one outside Donegal town. And like everything stopped for me because I'd done a radio program on our local radio station as well, 3 days a week on Ocean FM. And because I'd been in the UK that time, I had to go into quarantine. And next thing then, like the radio, obviously, in order to stay afloat, they had to make big cutbacks. Oh, yeah. So I was one of the cutbacks. So I haven't got back yet. I think now maybe in August again we're going to go back at that. So that was a great buzz as well. We had a great listenership. I was on from 2 to 4 doing daytime radio, which was a great boost as well for your music career. And it was sort of organising concerts for the local radio station as well. So again, that all stopped. Like 2 cafes closed down, and it was like just hitting a brick wall that night we left Manchester. Like it felt like everything had ended right away,
It's crazy, but hopefully we're on the way out of it now.
Well, as I say, I'm out every Saturday in June now, and we have 2 gigs already now in May to finish off. Out every Saturday in June. July's not looking bad either. But, there is loads of gigs. Like we would do a lot of weddings as well. The band would do a lot of weddings. And like we had about 25 or maybe 26 weddings moved from last year to this year. And now like people's in the process now of moving them from this year now to next year. So it's just, I know there's one wedding booked now for like a Tuesday next July, which like the only reason somebody's getting married on a Tuesday is because all the dates now, the weekend dates are all booked up. And, it's sad for people too that has made all them arrangements and deposits paid and florists and cars and hotels and bands, that all these things have changed. But as I say, we hope we're on the way out, Yeah.
Definitely.
And to bring it back to something more positive, I guess. I was looking at some of your music videos online. They look like absolute great crack, and they look like you have the whole community come out to help you shoot the videos. Yes. What's that like? It's good crack.
Funny. Again, Andy Cox would have laid the bones for a lot of the videos as well. What to do, and Andy's making it. Every line needs a different shot. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if we're talking about this, like on the market selling animals in a mart, well, there's lines that needs to be shot on the mart, and there's different lines. Like a video for on the market probably took 3 days to do, and maybe 3 weeks to edit. Then try and get it all done. Yeah. There's another one then we've done about Cut the Grass, Copper, if you've seen it.
I've seen that one, yeah.
Excuse me. And again, it's a 3-4 day video as well. And, very time consuming, but they've paid back good because we get a lot of views on them and a lot of comments from them, But absolutely. Great fun making them. And, there's one wee line in the Cut the Grass, what is it called now, but Kicking the Bucket or something. And I had all actors and friends. They weren't professional actors, they're just friends of mine who would drive tractors. And I said, you need to kick that bucket. And he had to do it about 20 times because he was laughing so much we couldn't get him a serious face to do it. Yeah. But seeing the pubs even after that, the slag and that fella gets, but he loves it, like, about kicking that bucket. Just different wee things that make the videos interesting. And I want to thank Steve Blur and Barry Donnelly and all the guys that helped us doing these videos, because there's a lot. It's not just about our shooting a video of you walking down a lane or someone. Yeah. I don't think just not my type of video.
Yeah, you want to keep it entertaining. You want to be just
exactly
looking
and
off
I think
into the distance.
This is why we've got so many kids watching that. It's not. You're not just standing there at the same thing all the time. Yeah. There's always something happening. I say it takes a lot of work to get them done, but I think it pays off in the end,
I don't think people realize how much work goes into, like you said, 3 days and 3 days editing, like all for 3 minutes of footage.
Exactly. It's all that, and people are saying, so how could it possibly take you that long? Well, I says, you go through it all now and every scene, and take it that every scene could have to be done 20 times, in order to get it right. And there was one time, like, and we were editing, and we had to go back out and shoot the whole scene again, like 3 weeks later. It only took like an hour, but it's still to be done, and that's just sort of the way that's just our niche. That's the way we want to do it, you know.
That's it. You got good results out of it anyway. I had a great old time watching the videos, so fair play.
There's one or two of them that's not that interesting, but they're going good. There's one, The Hangover, as well. You know, we're selling a bull cab as a line, and you might have seen it, called The Hangover, Copper. It's a good video. You should have a look at it sometime as well.
It's not the one where you're feeding the lamb and you're sleeping in the wheelbarrow.
That was one of the later ones. That was a song called Lambing Time.
Lambing Time.
That was the one. Yeah. See, we planned that song. Lambing normally happens January, February, March. Yeah. So like we had that song written the year before that.
So you're
and had it recorded and all done. Then to shoot the video the 1st or 2nd of January and have it released then for February. You know, it just to kind of ties in with the time of year things happens. At, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all good.
And obviously you've got a massive following behind you, and I do want to say a big hello to Anne Cannon, because she has probably one of your biggest supporters, I would say, and pushes you everywhere and is constantly on my phone.
She's been talked about this for a long time now. She'll be on a few episodes.
Anne, or as I call her, Annie Cannon, I met Anne about probably 5 years ago. I think it was in the Well and Moat, and like I'd be talking to Anne every single day. Great lady. And, you know, wherever she can promote something for you or share your videos, or, you know, there might be a gig coming up. Oh, you should be on that. And she'll get a contact for you. You know, great lady. So Anne will be listening, or as I call her, Annie, will be listening to this. So I want to say a big hello and a big thank you. And it means a lot that there's somebody out there helping you with all this stuff, you know.
I keep telling her we need to get her onto an episode. I think she'd have some great stories.
She is she's a very, very big country and western music fan, and travels a lot, and like would always buy CDs, and very generous at that, and you know, a great lady. And as I say, I met her last summer in Galway for a coffee in the Galway Bay Hotel. It was during lockdown, but things were open last summer a bit. But like, Annie would support a lot of the dances that we'd be at, you know. And I suppose the question you asked about followers, funny enough, I'd say a lot of my followers are younger kids from anything. Like I'd say Christmas wishes this year, I'd say easily 200 Christmas wishes I had to do for kids and different people, you know. And I know that's happening because there's a company sends out the merchandise for me, you know. It's all available on my website, paulkellymusic.com. And even though they're doing, I still can keep an eye on it because I be copied or CC'd on all the orders. And I just know from the amount of like kids hoodies and kids t-shirts and stuff like that, like a lot. I mean, like in excess of 1,000 would have went out before Christmas this year for, you know, for kids for Christmas and stuff like that. And that seems to be the most popular.
And how have you kept in touch with them through social medias or things, live shows, anything like that?
There's people messaging. Things had died, to be honest, Jodie, especially from January this year. I think last year people had a bit of hope, and people were thinking, oh, we're locked down for 2 weeks now, but we'll be open again. And I'm sorry, Copper, now for being negative again, talking about this COVID again, but I'm just trying to explain that things will open up, and like we will be doing outside shows again for summer. We're doing one in Enniskillen now in 2 weeks' time, and we've one in Banbridge, which is in County. My geography is terrible. I think it's County Down, and like there'll be a lot of kids and a lot of fans at them types of shows. But again, it's really hard getting an atmosphere, as I said earlier in the conversation, getting an atmosphere at them. But listen, we just keep sharing the music, and I know there's people watching because like we do get videos like maybe 10 every week of kids and people watching, and you know, you're just interacting with people all the time. And like from when I, even on Facebook, like I do my own personal page, somebody else does my music page, but I am copied in on everything, and I see what's happening. If I feel, you know, we need to make a comment, like everybody, if somebody is good enough to watch your video and make a comment on it, I feel they deserve a reply. Do you know what I mean? That somebody, like we have a big following in Tasmania as well. Now, I think, as I say, my geography is terrible, but Tasmania is a small island south of Australia, I think.
Yeah.
Can anybody verify that? No.
Yeah, it is.
You're the ball player,
anyway. Right. Well, we have a lot of following there, and again, like Marty Mohan will be singing a lot of the same type of songs that I would be singing, and big shout out to Marty there too if you ever be tuned in. But we would have had interest from Australia and New Zealand and all for last year and this year, but again, unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But I think things will get back to some sort of normality, and that when maybe we can do them type of things and get traveling again, because like when you're on the go all the time and then just to hit the brick wall, it's not very nice,
Yeah. Do you think you'll remember how to perform and get up on a stage with people actually in front of you? It's gonna be a weird feeling.
It's weird. Now, I do one of these shows about once a month they're called Concerts on the Couch.
Yeah. And
they're organised and run by JMG Music. And like that keeps you in touch with what's going on. But you have to think, excuse me, you have to think ahead. What's the next verse? And it's like anything. If you're a footballer and you didn't play football for a full year, you're just not just going to slip back into it and just be able to just go and do it. You have to learn yourself and retrain. And yeah, well, I say the first gig now we have back with the band is this one in Luton. It's a big farmyard, Jodie. I don't think it's not in the city or the town or not. So,
okay.
There will be like a lot of prep. We'll have to go into that there, song, because if you take maybe 30 to 40 songs for a 2.5 hour gig, and they need to be all in here. Like you can't, obviously, if you're a professional on stage, you can't be reading words of...
I don't know. I've seen Richie Remo do that a few times.
We'll say no.
Don't throw him under the bus.
So, like, there's going to be a lot of prep in the next couple of weeks getting ready for that. And even the guys in the band, like, they all... Well, I know the lads in the band are all the same, except for one lad has moved on now because he was into a bit of farming as well. And like, the way it is, I couldn't hold them back from getting other jobs if they were getting them, because I had no work for them, basically. It'll all fall into place again, though. Seemingly, my mother was in a 2-piece band as well, and she says it'll be like riding a bicycle.
Yeah,
you never forget. Seemingly so.
There we go.
Touch wood. Let me hope that's going to work out for us now when we get back to it, Jodie.
And
Brilliant.
you mentioned Marty Mohan there. I noticed that you both sing "Hit the Diff." That's a song you both sing, and
yeah.
And if it's a case where the two you're on the same billing now, who gets to sing it, or you both sing it anyway?
Well, you see, no, "Hit the Diff," really, that's Marty's song. Marty wrote that song himself.
Yeah.
So, like, me and Marty has done a lot of double bills together. No, that's definitely Marty's song. So, Marty definitely. Richie Remo would sing it as well, but Marty gets all the grace for that song. Like, and that song has been massive for him,
Yeah, it's a very famous song.
Again, in that same sort of market as the both of us are trying to move. But there's plenty of work for both of us. If,
it's a big audience for the trucking and the farming kind of stuff.
Well, you see, in the UK alone, every year there's probably the guts of 100 truck shows.
Yeah, wow.
And like we were booked for probably 20 of them last year, maybe 25. We only got doing. There was one of them I done in Peterborough. And the guy says to me, "You can sell merchandise, you can do anything," he says, "but don't sing." He said, "We're not allowed to have live music." So, but it was great to meet. It was great to meet because I would, even on my Snapchat, like there's probably 8,000 or 9,000 people on it, and like 70% of them are truckers from the UK. So it's great, they'll be snapping away. And I, again, as Snapchat, I always reply to them, and it was great then to put a face to a name and meet these people. And again, when you go there, we done another one in Shropshire, and we done one in, I think it was Newark. So we're going to get back at that again. It's good to see people, And as I said a few minutes ago, if people are good enough to watch your video and comment on it and make a comment and send you a message, I think it's only manners to reply to it.
Absolutely.
As long as it's a good comment.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. But like you have to take criticism as well. And so, in fairness, we don't get away a lot. I remember putting up a posting a song one time on Facebook, and you get some people like saying, "Oh, that's hurting me ears," and you just send them back an LOL. But it's not everybody's into that type of music, and you just have to take that on board as well, So it's like you go into a cafe every time. The food mightn't be exactly what you want every time, but you just can't say no.
Well, at this point is where I hand over to Copper. If you've seen this before, this is where we go over to Copper's corner, and he's going to throw some random questions at you. And he sits with his pipe, which just makes him feel more comfortable, I think.
Let's go, Copper. Keep them civil.
Come into the corner, get to know me better, man. So this is just where I ask some random questions. So if you think back when you first bought music, what's the first CD or cassette album, let's say, that you ever bought?
The first song I learned was a song called My Lovely Rose of Clare, and I remember writing that song down, and I remember where I was when I wrote it. I remember it was a tape player we wrote it from.
Yeah.
And saying that, the very, very first experience I'd have, my mother had a record player in the house. Now, I know that might sound like I'm nearly 100, but like record players were still going in Ireland a few years ago.
They're back in fashion now, though.
We had the record player nickname as Susan, because my mother was a big Susan McCann fan as well.
Yeah. And
Susan was always on that record player. So we nicknamed the record player then Susan. First CD I bought, I think it was Mick Flavin's CD, Travelling to Flavin. Big fan of Mick.
Flavin, yeah. Oh, very good.
Nice.
So you're straight into the Irish country scene straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell me this as well. If you were going to have a dinner party and you could invite 3 people from any point in history, alive or dead, who would you invite and why?
That's a good question. I always I suppose we'll do one up music anyway. I would always like Randy Travis as a singer.
Oh yeah, absolute legend.
Yeah. Lady Diana would have been the second.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Lovely lady, and I would have followed her story, and even the latter couple of months there and all that. Let me pick a third one now. You've got me here, Copper, but I'll pick one for you now. Can we come back to it? No, I'll get.
We can put Anne Cannon in that third seat.
We'll put Anne Cannon in the third seat. Yeah. Even though I have met her and I had at lunch with her, we'll put her in that third seat. Yeah, but yeah, I suppose really a lot of the Irish country singers. Well, I've met them all because Nathan lives up the road from Nathan Carter. Only lives about 20 minutes up the road. Derek's living in Fermanagh now as well. I would know all them, and as I say, Mick Flavin, that had been my idol from day one. I'm very, very friendly with Mick Flavin nowadays. And, suppose the American singers, Daniel even lives in the same county. And I was talking to him there a few weeks ago, even though I think he's in Tenerife. And I suppose a lot of them people at these the Sunday World Country Music Awards and all that, you would meet maybe a few times a year. So, yeah, we'll go with them 3, Copper, if that's okay with you.
That's it. There's no wrong answer.
No wrong answer.
That's it. And if you were to say, if you were marooned on a desert island, and you could pick your 3 desert island discs, so 3 CDs that you'd never get sick of, no matter how many times you listen to, what would they be?
Well, I have to go with my first one on McFlavin, definitely. Yes. That one, that CD that I would have bought first, and even Mick's latest CD, he is just not strange songs, but the songs you never really hear. They're not all original songs, but they're songs that Mick is a great man for picking songs as well. So I'd go with that one first. In the 80s, I was growing up in the 80s, and I loved the 80s music. There was a CD out of various artists. I think it was Now 20 maybe, or Now. This is probably showing my age too much here, but we'll say, was it Now 21 or something like that there? There was some brilliant 80s music on that there, Yeah. And I would be partial to a bit of ABBA as well, with some great songs.
I can't beat ABBA. Fair play. Yeah, absolutely. And what was the first gig that you ever went to that you paid money, you bought a ticket to go see?
This is a very good question, Copper, because when all my friends were going out to these things, I was always away playing music. But this will probably shock you. Away a long, long time ago, myself, when I was in the second sort of band, the fella plays in the band along with me was called Declan Colton. So we were coming home from a gig, and then we went into the local nightclub. And he announced on this Sunday night that he was going to England in a couple of hours' time. And he said, will you come with me? And I said, can't see why not. So we went home, packed the bag, and we were actually going to U2 in Wembley.
Wow.
Yeah, and that would have been the old Wembley Stadium. So I don't know what that year that was knocked on, but yeah, that would have been probably the first. Mightn't have been the very, very first time I paid money, but it was one that definitely sticks in my head. Anyway, that we just got into the back of a Vauxhall Cavalier, drove to Belfast, and then like 8 or 9 hours drive from Carnryan down to London, and we stayed there from Monday to Friday because we'd have been gigging in the weekend again. So yeah, Wembley, U2. Can't tell you the year, Copper, because my memory is just not that good. I know it was an amazing concert anyway.
That's a good first concert anyway. Yeah, bottom of the edge up there and singing away. Mm-hmm. Fair play. Yeah. And I suppose you've obviously you're in the music game a long time. You're touring up and down the country and all. Do you have any good mad tour stories? Any crazy crack from the road? Let's say
clean ones.
Clean ones.
Oh, of course, clean ones. Listen,
children listening now.
A lot of things have happened, you know, and throughout, even when me and my mum was playing, you have ups and downs. Like all nights, they're not all good. The incidents happen, but the thing about them, when you go on the stage, you have to be happy and smile, regardless of what happens, you know. And there's things that happen, good things, a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. Typical story of what. I remember one night as well, we were coming home from playing, and Declan, the fellow, those three of us in the car. So we were nearly home, actually. We were only probably about 20 miles from home, and we were coming home one night, and Declan was driving, and I let on. I was sick in the passenger seat, and a wee girl used to play with us on the fiddle, Colette McAree. So Declan, that on the car, had died out. So he says, I was sleeping and I was sick. And he said to Colette, would you get out and push? Give us a push to get us started again.
Yeah.
We messed about, and of course, Colette got out and gave us a push. And next thing, the police landed on us in the middle of all this happening. And like they just couldn't get their head around this way. The two of us, big strong men, were sitting in a car, and this nice little petite lady was out giving us a push. That's come back a long time ago. There's more stories than you would ever even remember, you know.
Oh,
like we broke down one time going to a gig. We were going to Inverness. Now, from Donegal to Inverness is a long, long spin. We broke down almost at the gig as well. And just by luck, people going to the gig, and like they all rambled around together and got us towed in and got the gear up, and we got started. And in Scotland, if you're meant to start playing, start your gig at 9 o'clock. It's not 9:05, it's 9 o'clock. It's not 9-ish, it's 9 o'clock. So there's some great story. There's a lot of guys in the band. I'll tell you, we travelled with, we done a weekend in England as well with Brian Call, and Brian was just a complete gentleman. And Brian,
he was full of stories, wasn't he? He just knew everything.
Yeah. So there was we done 2 nights in Seamus Moore's pub, and what was that pub called again? Conway's 3 in London.
Conway's, yeah.
In North London.
Yeah.
So Brian flew over on the Friday. We drove over in the van. Brian flew over on the Friday. We done the Friday and the Saturday in Conway's 3, and then we were going to the Birmingham Irish Centre for the Sunday night. So there was this guy in the band at that time as well called Jimmy Henry. So I was driving the van myself. I don't know where I was driving, and Jimmy Henry was sitting beside me, and Brian Call was sitting at the outside. And Brian's stories were unbelievable. Like you'd miss him really a lot from the music scene. Like, but Jimmy says to me, "I'm going to try and count to 10 between Brian's stories." So Brian would tell the story, and these stories, but like they could last 15 minutes, but they were still very, very, very interesting, these stories, you know. So Brian would stop and Jimmy would go 1. Just really low. Brian didn't really know it was, even though me and him spoke about it afterwards. Jimmy would go 1, 2, 3, but Jimmy never could get past 5, never mind 10, and telling these stories. Or
he's on to the next one. Yeah.
Brian would, and he had more interesting stories. Like one night, he had an old car and he lifted these 2 guys. I think it was down near Limerick or somewhere like that. And Brian lives in Tyrone in Omo, which is only a half an hour from me as well. Yeah. Or that's where he did live, sorry. And he lifted these two drums. Now, Brian never consumed alcohol himself at all. Like, he was a pioneer all his life, but he was telling me that he lifted two fellas in Limerick or somewhere, and he gave them maybe 5 or 6 miles. So Brian landed home to Oma, and look, I could hear this noise in the back. The guy had got out of the front of the car, but the guy in the back of the car fell asleep, and Brian drove on. And of course, I don't know what year this was, and it was a long time ago. No mobile phones, no nothing like that. And the guy slept in the back of the car till Brian got to Oma. So Brian got to Oma. He said, get out of the car, just dying to get to bed, and he had to turn and drive back to Limerick again with the guy in the back of the car. That's a true story. Well, wow. Brian called home. It's true anyway. But like I was saying, that time we travelled down on the Sunday from London up to Birmingham. It was probably normally only a 2-hour journey. There was a big roadworks in the M6, and it turned out a 3.5-hour journey. But I wish it could have went on forever, because like the stories we heard that time on that 2 or 3 hour trip was amazing. There was another young fella in the band with me that time as well, Carl Kilpatrick, and he was just mesmerised by all these stories you heard. And like a journey, you would think that you were going to be not looking forward to get into the van, go to sleep, that you're suddenly your ears are cocked the whole way through to hear, what had happened. And nowadays a lot in the band, a lot of guys travel, a lot of musicians even travel to the gigs themselves, where that time everybody went in the van. Like Philomena Begley, she would tell you that everybody went. If you were going to a gig, everybody went in the bandwagon, but some great stories. And I suppose I'll be thinking of all these stories now when I go offline. Like
that's it.
You should write a book.
Exactly. Well, Brian Call actually did write a book, and he got it published and all before he died. And I was at his funeral, very sad. He was one of the best. And
he was actually one of the people on Gary Gamble's episode. He was somebody he wanted at his dinner party for the storytelling.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, Gary Gamble had wanted Brian. Yeah. Brian, as I say, the reason probably that I didn't pick somebody like Brian was because, like, me and Brian has had dinner together so many times. Like even that period of time, and even as late as maybe it would have been like about a month or two before everything locked down, we were in Glenfarne in the Ballroom of Romance. And Brian was there doing a gig with us, and like it just felt so natural for everything. Ballroom of Romance in Glenfarne will be an old dance hall, and I organised a concert through Ocean FM, and definitely number one on the list was Brian Call. And like Brian had like maybe a 20-minute slot on the concert, because there was like 5 or 6 other singers on it. Brian's slot ended up being over an hour, but when he went onto the stage, he just started to cough, and like. But the thing about it is, you don't mind, but he's very interesting to listen to,
Yeah.
And I have one more question. I generally ask for the crack at all my guests here, but with varying success. But do you have any ghost stories for us? Any experiences?
Not a lot of ghost stories, no, Copper. I wouldn't. There's something I wouldn't read into much, as ghosts and spirits and all this kind of thing, because I never, ever, ever had an experience with anything like that, which is probably a good thing in a way. There is people, and I think maybe, again, everybody, of course, is entitled to their opinion. Mine is that I wouldn't have a lot of belief in it, to be honest with you. I never had the experience of anything like it happening to me like that. So it's like
we'll have to take you on a ghost tour then or something.
And like for the likes of a horror film, I couldn't watch a horror. I never have in my life watched a horror film, and I don't ever intend to watch one either. So I just can't do that stuff. Like if you happen to hit a bird with the van or the car, or even drive over a wee rabbit or something like that, I'd be mortified. Like it just, you just feel all bad about it, So no, I'm not going to be any good chance for that one for you, Papa.
Like the way I look at it is, I don't know if I necessarily believe either, but I believe in the possibility or something. But I used to work in a haunted house and all this kind of crack. I just had great fun, and
wouldn't be for me now.
Yeah, I love all my horror films. I'm totally entertained by all the ghosts and all that kind of stuff. So I always ask, like we had Gary Gamble on there a few weeks ago, and he told us he went on about half an hour about his haunted house and all this kind of crack. It was really unexpected. So it was it's good crack.
We get varying answers to that question.
Well, I suppose my answer really wasn't much good to you then. So, but I can only tell what's in here. I wouldn't have much belief in them at all. I've never experienced anything like it.
Yeah.
So therefore, we might have to pass that question.
No worries at all.
You know.
But Joe, do you have any more questions?
So where can anybody sort of watching or listening in that might want to get in contact with you or catch your music or anything like that, where can they find you on social media and things?
Well, I suppose all my merchandise sales and all is on my website, www.paulkellymusic.com. Facebook, Instagram, all the normal social media platforms were all on it. As I say, they're well, when things were very busy, there was other people doing this, you know, because as I said a few times, every message deserves a reply. And if you're away all the time and doing this, that could not happen. So there's other people that done my Facebook and Instagram, even though I still have it on my own phone. And like I see everything that's going on, you know. So I suppose Facebook and maybe more so Instagram nowadays is where everything happens.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, you can keep in touch with a lot of things on them on Facebook and Instagram alone. The website for any CDs, any up and coming music, all be posted on the website, like just days before it's about to happen. You know.
Brilliant. Well, you've been an amazing guest. I feel like we've learnt loads about you, and hopefully we haven't kept you too long today.
No. Well, if you're ever in a wee village called Pedigo, and if you have a look on Google, you see it's just on the very border. There's a wee cafe there, and if I'm not there, the girls will make you welcome.
Lovely. We'll be coming.
And Copper, you're living in...
I'm down in Wexford.
Yeah. Where the closest gig to Wexford we would have been probably Waterford. Yeah. We used to always do Paddy O'Brien's weekend down there in Lawler's Hotel. Is that in Waterford, maybe, is it?
Lawler's Hotel. It doesn't ring a bell now. No, it's in Waterford City, is it?
Yeah. There's Lawler's Hotel and the Spikes Hotel, and maybe it's in Waterford. As I say, we done. What did you call the gig then? We done a lot of work down in the south of Ireland.
Yeah.
There was one great gig. If I can see when these things go out of your head, then it's hard to remember them. But as I say, well, always looking for a house to go for a mug of tea, so I'd say, around Donegal, you know.
If you're ever down to Wexford, give me a shout.
For definite. Have the cream buns in, as Hugo Duncan would say.
That's it.
That's it, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Paul. It's been great catching up with you.
Thank you so much.
Jodie and Copper, I wanted this opportunity to thank you both. Loads of people watch these and are very interested in them. It's great for you to be doing them. I know it took us a wee while getting them just pinned down, but well done to both of you. Keep up the good work. And for anybody listening, and if you want a CD or a gig done, or a birthday party, a wedding, anything, we're open to anything. Check out paulkellymusic.com. You can find all the contact details, and any up and coming material will all be on there.
That's it.
And I suppose
I'll put the link in the description of the podcast as well.
Good man, Papa, yeah.
Easy to find.
And of course, all the videos, if you just go into Paul Kelly. Now, there is another Paul Kelly singer in Australia, because I get some mistakes from him sometimes. And so you need to probably go Paul Kelly Ireland or Paul Kelly someone. You'll find it anyway, because there's probably about 30 songs at the moment on YouTube. I have 3 albums done, up 2 DVDs, so there's always something there.
I'm lucky. There's not another Copper Kelly. Everyone keeps calling me Cooper though, so it's a bit confusing.
It's not Cooper, yeah. No, lads, thanks a million for this. This is great.
Thank you.
And again to my good friend Annie Cannon, hello, and thanks for helping to organise this. And I'm sure you'll be listening.
She will. Thank you so much, Paul.
Brilliant. Great. And I hope to talk to you soon. And sure, Jodie, she'll keep in touch via WhatsApp or whatever. And Definitely. You never know, if I'm in Luton in a few weeks' time, I'll pop you a message, send you the postcode where we are, and sure, if you're anywhere near, we'll meet up for coffee.
I'm sure I can make that happen.
Brilliant.
Lovely. Will you take care of yourself?
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.